So today we're going to make croissants using regular ingredients and using volume measurements. Okay, so the first ingredients that we're using right now, here are the ingredients right here. We have 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We have 1 3/4 cup whole milk. We have yeast, 4 teaspoons of yeast, 2 teaspoons of salt, 4 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, and a little bit extra for dusting. And then we have 1/4 cup of sugar. Okay, so first things first, there's also 12 ounces or 3 sticks of butter that will go into the middle of the croissants for the butter block. So first thing first, we're going to heat the butter and the milk. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on this little stove here. I'm gonna melt my butter in this pan. And once it should be kind of low. Don't want to melt it too fast. Okay, once this is melted, I'm gonna add the milk. Okay. So let that go. What we're doing is heating up the liquid ingredients that will go into our dough. Okay, so we're just gonna let that go. All right. Because our milk is a little bit cold, this warm butter, it'll just bring everything up to the right temperature. Okay, so anytime you're making any yeasted products, you want to have the milk a little bit warm. There's a little enzyme in it that prevents it from the yeast to grow naturally. So you want to heat up your milk just a little bit just to kill the enzyme. So I don't want to make brown butter, but that'd be really good, a brown butter croissant. That'd be really good. Okay, so my butter is almost there. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off. It's already melted. I'm going to just add my milk. Okay, and then I'm going to just mix that a little bit to just distribute the heat. Okay, I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to transfer this to a bowl. Okay, now we're going to start mixing the croissant though. I have a bowl here. I'm going to add my liquid into the bowl. Okay, liquid into the bowl. Then I'm going to add my flour. I'm going to sift my flour though, because sometimes I find a few little bits in it that I don't like. I'm going to sift my flour. Pardon the watch. I'm trying to get my steps in while I'm at home doing all this. Okay. Okay, that's that. I'm gonna add my sugar. My, oh, I was supposed to whisk in my yeast, but supposed to whisk in my yeast. Totally forgot. Let me mix that yeast right there. Just to dilute it. Should be A-okay. Okay, I'm gonna add my sugar and I'm gonna add my salt. Okay, then I'm gonna mix this a little bit with my spoon and then I'm gonna start working it with my hand. If you have a stand mixer, you could do this also in a stand mixer using the hook attachment. I think I'm going to take my watch off just for the remainder of this because I'm going to be working the dough with my hands. Okay, so it's come together into a nice ball. Oh, it's coming together really nicely. Okay. Now I'm going to add a little bit of flour to this bench here, and I'm going to work the dough. Oh, where's my flour? get some flour. Sorry for the wait, y'all. Okay. Put some flour down. I'm gonna put this down there. It's great to have a bowl scraper. If you have one of these, guys, it'd be really good. If not, just a rubber spatula, just to get all the last bits of stuff from your bowl. Okay, I am going to work this. It's going to be sticky for a little bit. If you're working in a stand mixer, be easier. See, I'm kind of chopping at this dough with my bench scraper. I don't want to add too much flour to it, but I want to develop the gluten. Oh, it's a little sticky, but I guess I'll just add a little flour. I don't want to add too much because we want that wetness in the dough. You're going to work the gluten. You don't want to work it too much that it's really, really smooth, but you want to work it to develop a structure. If you don't do this, your croissants will not have a structure and they will fall once you bake them. You're going to do all this work to make croissants. Oops. And then they're just going to they're going to be kind of flat. If you're doing this in the stand mixer, you're going to work it for about 2 to 3 minutes on medium, I believe. Oh, on low. Medium low. And then we're just going to knead it for a minute. So if you're doing this by hand, we're going to mix this for at least 3 because the mixer does a lot more work in 1 minute than our hands will. But I will work this for about 3 minutes or as much as I can. So let's see how good this scraper is. If I didn't have this scraper, it will stick really bad to this bench here or to my cutting board. You can do this on your table. A clean countertop would work also. See, it's kind of, it's still has a stickiness to it, but as we're working it, the gluten will be less sticky. I don't know how long it's been, but I'm just going to work it for 1 more minute, maybe. I did an arm workout yesterday, so my arms are sore. It's not helping. Okay, so I think that will do. That will do dough. Okay, so it's a little bit, see how it's a little bit more stretchy, but it's not perfect. You don't want to over mix this point because after when you add the butter in to croissants and you do all the folds and all that, it will develop the gluten when we're rolling it out. Okay, so now I'm going to grease a sheet pan or a tray. I'm going to stick my dough on this tray and I'm going to let it sit at room temperature for 30 minutes. It's going to develop the flavor. This is the fermenting process. It's going to develop a lot of flavor within 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, I'm going to flatten it out into this pan. And I'm going to stick it in the either freezer for an hour or refrigerator for 2 hours, and then the freezer for 30 minutes. I don't have time, so I'm just going to stick this in the freezer and then work with it after. Okay, I'll see you in 30 minutes, guys. Okay, so after 30 minutes that it's been resting, fermenting to get the flavors going, I am going to push this out. This is a 9 by 13 inch square. So I'm just gonna, it says on our sheet it has to be rolled out to a 10 by 7 7, I'm just going to roll it out to the size of this guy. Because whatever size our butter block is, it'll just be 2/3 the size of this. So actually, oh no, it got stuck. Maybe that wasn't the best deal. I'm going to actually roll it out and then stick it on that. Just going to take some of that off. I'm going to lightly flour this. I'm going to roll it out, but I'm going to let it fit in here because it'll be a good size. Roll this out just a little, just so it fits in. It should be about 1 inch thick. I just kind of want it to fit this pan a little bit more. I think that should be okay. I'm gonna just lightly flour it. I'm just gonna let this fit. It's fine. Just let it go. I'm gonna wrap it with plastic wrap, and I'm going to let it hang out in the freezer for about an hour, and then I'm going to transfer it to the refrigerator while I do my butter block. Okay, so I'll see you when I do my butter block.